So how far away are you doing charting trials there?
Yeah, just much the space all day.
Because yeah, they must be well. I just think it's a great product to try to get it. Yeah, that's right.
And while we were there, we took a small decorticator with us, and we built 2 over there. And we were looking at these stacks. Go back. We were looking at these stacks, of which there are hundreds of them around China. They're about 200, some of them 300 yards long. So you can imagine how much is there. And all of this goes through their water retting process. Keep going. Which is tanks that they fill with warm water and they leave it there for 2 or 3 weeks. And then they have to keep the water circulating and warm while they do that. Then they pull it out. Keep going. They pull it out and they put it through scutching machines, which are about 70 yards long. One of the ones I saw was a Belgian one, similar to what I'd seen in Belgium. Another one was a Russian one, similar to what I'd seen in Ireland. Now, I do all my work on a Mac, and my son's having trouble with the compatibility with the IBM system. Yeah, that's one of the tanks that they use, and they lay down. See, it's all pretty primitive, but all of that hemp has to go through this system, the water retting system, and then the scutching, and almost every process is done with enormous amounts of labour to create the jeans and the shirt that I'm wearing today. Those are the tanks. I've seen tanks like that in Ireland too. Now these are 2 scutching machines. This is the Belgian one and that's the Russian one next to it. And they're about 70 yards long. So, go to the next slide, George. So you can see all the complexity in these machines. It's unbelievably complex to make hemp textiles. And this is all just the start of it. This gets the herd away from the fibre. And then it goes right through to a whole huge turbine system at the end, which is paddles banging the skins, which are hung over a chain. Now that's the building it's in, that's just part of it. It goes on for nearly 100 yards, and that's the sort of fibre that comes out the end. That then has to go to another machine which is called a hackler, which is a series of combs. The Irish ones are made by Mackie. They cost you about £3.5 million, and they're about 100 yards long. Again, coarse combs to very fine combs. And by the time you've got a fibre out of that that will create linen, which is your finest linen, you've got about 10% of the fibre left. The rest of it's gone into tow, which they make heavy canvas out of, and herd. The herd is used for horse bedding. Okay. So if you can go into that movie now. Now, we looked at processing in a very different way in Australia because we don't have hundreds of people. We wanted a machine that would decorticate it green in the field. And this is our first full prototype. We made many different size machines to get to this. We used a Russian Stuka front end. It's feeding it into the decorticator, which is in this section. We're topping the top there to take the leaves off because we don't want them in there. But if that was a dual crop that had grown through to mature seed, we would hang a bag here and catch all that to be threshed later. So we can do a dual crop. It doesn't matter how tall it is because that machine can lift it up to a 3 or 4 metre crop. Now, this was its first run, so we hadn't put a trailer on to catch it. We were so surprised it worked the first time. But when we did put a trailer on, it took only a couple of minutes to fill it. So our downtime is handling the output of how efficient our machine is, and that's an ongoing debate I've had with Phil Warner and others, and our engineers in Ballarat just say we will suck that when we have it, because there are all sorts of bulk handling systems. All sorts of bulk handling systems on farms, and we'll adapt something when we know what farm we're on, what we're dealing with. But we can take that green material, you can find one of yeah. This took us about 10 minutes to do. Now it's fully decorticated, so you can see the difference in the machinery and the approach that people have. That's what we can do. We can take that material now and put it straight into a dye works Kia and turn it into a textile fibre. Or we can put it through a mechanical semi-degummer which we've designed and turn it into a fiberglass replacement. What we've found with it when we've had it submitted to the aerospace engineers in Wales, we took a lot there, they said this is so strong you can make car bodies with it, plane wings with it. That's why I laughed when I think it was Lionel Rockman said you can make planes with it. Yes, you can. British aerospace engineers in Wales said we can, but it would take about 10 years to get the certification to do that. They said make cars and trains and buses with it in the meantime. That is a very high value fibre if it can replace things like carbon fibre in a lot of things. I gave some to Lotus. They now make their release from it. Unfortunately, we're not in England to supply them with fibre anymore, but they make their release from hemp fibre based on the fibre that we gave them, which was unretted fibre. It was actually taken from dry finola bales and stuff I gave them, but the dry isn't quite as strong as the green when the green is treated properly, which is contrary to everybody else's studies because they don't know how to treat it.
Sorry, can I just interrupt? Alan's ordered a taxi which hasn't arrived. He has to catch a plane. Is anybody going back towards Tullamarine?
I'll go now.
Darren, why are you going?
Nice.
Oh, you need to go to the airport too.
Oh, yeah.
Richard's gone to drop off the sandwich trays. He's, yeah, he'll be coming back. Yeah, unless
You don't have to catch the same plane.
No, not the same plane.
Oh, okay, well I can drop him off now if he's linked, because it's going to take me 2 hours to get home anyway,
Yeah.
once I get through Melbourne.
Yeah.
Thanks,
See you,
guys.
mate.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you, all right?
All right.
Adrian, I'll catch up with you.
Okay, Darren,
All right.
thank you.
Thanks, man.
So you'll go to the D8 Springdale. This is a bale unwinder that we took the decorticator from the moving thing when winter came and there was no more crop to do, and we set it up as a static thing to do this mountain of bales that were in Yorkshire, and we perfected the machine to do that. Show us the D8. Yeah, this is my other son, my older son, standing next to the machine that does it now. That does it at an extremely high rate as a static machine, and the downtime again is lifting the bales into the bale unwinder and handling the output. We've redesigned it since we've been back in Australia, and we can put it on a trailer. We can put that whole thing on a trailer and take it to farms. I've wanted to put our decorticator into Phil Warner's system, and I'm still talking to him about that. Because the decorticator is about the size of the table. And it does all the work that those great big machines I showed you in China do. And it'll do it from either green, standing, or dry bales. The thing I still have to work out with Phil is whether it'll do the cut short bales. Yeah, so now I want your film.
It's the long one, just pick the really long one.
Now, this is a demonstration we did with some hemp for a Canadian processor who wants to make military uniforms from. Again, the compatibility might feel this here. Here we are. We went to a self-sown crop at Griffiths. It was the worst crop I've ever seen. We grabbed some stems. We took 10 kilograms of stems.
Turn the sound up, George.
This is the D7 machine, which is a little prototype that we've used for many years.
It's just music anyway.
Don't you have any of the
And we took the skins and we took it to a standard dyeing process. This is at Deakin University. We just chucked it in. It didn't matter that it wasn't perfectly separated because there are textile machines that take it out at the end. It was about a 95% separation. So these, in China, there's a 10-ton machine that does 10 tons of this at a time.
This is just a decent one.
Yeah, this is just a small Deakin one. We did all of our research and perfected all this in 1999. Then we pull it out. It still looks a bit green, but all of the cement that holds the fibre together has been removed.
So is that a chemical and mechanical process? What in those?
That's a chemical process, that one. Chemical, high pressure. Then we do a little bit of squeezing to get, that has the effect of getting separation. Then we dry it. And then we put it in standard textile opening machines. This one's called a Theanaut. There are many other sorts. There's a Treutzler one that we used at the Moe cotton mill. I've got the brand names of the others, but there are many different brands of openers. This is just their research machine. The longest period in this is it's sitting in the Kia, which takes about an hour and a half.
This is quite a quick process.
Yeah, well, it saves about 3 months
Yeah.
doing it the other way.
Yeah. Time and money.
Yeah. Because hemp has a very powerful enzyme in it that destroys itself, you've got to do these processes fairly quickly one after the other, or dry it. Drying it or boiling it. Now, the Chinese, when they grow all that hemp, they dry it. They put it in stoops, and then when it's dry, they can stack it. But the drying preserves the fibre. But in the time of drying, you do lose some strength. Now that's just a research card. That fibre is now ready to spin. And the whole process from when it was cut to when it's ready to spin was under 3 hours. And the recovery rate was about 95%. And that'll spin on cotton systems, and if we put it through a different card, it'll spin on wool systems. But prior to us degumming it, if we do it, especially if we, the other process line we have, this is yarn that they made at Deakin with that with the fibre. Have a look at taste. There's all different blends we made, different grades, different thicknesses. We made some with rayon, some with a lot with different blends of cotton. We were aiming to weave it, but that machine basically does what the $6 million or $9 million machine that Phil Warner's people are talking about. So, any questions?
Well done.
Sounds like you're in the wrong state, Adrian.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Mountains in the Holland.
During the hemp licensing phase, colleagues of ours and ourselves, we grew 10 different crops all over the state in 96 and 97 to see where it would and wouldn't grow and so on. And one of the things that we needed to do was cooperate.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
John.
Name tags as you're going down in his red tag, please.